Surely everyone has, at least once in their life, encountered a moment when the familiar and known suddenly slips away, leaving behind only a hollow void. Imagine this scenario. You look into the eyes of a loved one, someone you feel you've known forever, and suddenly realize you can't recall their name. Not just a momentary lapse, but a terrifying, all-consuming amnesia. A cold sweat washes over you, and the question persistently pulses in your mind. Is this truly the beginning of the end? This is just the first warning sign. Others soon follow. A sudden loss of spatial orientation, where you walk into a room and completely forget why you entered. A helpless gaze at objects that should be familiar, but seem foreign and strange. You look at a set of keys lying on the table and try in vain to understand. Were you just looking for them, or had you already found them? In such moments, you realize this isn't just ordinary forgetfulness or absent-mindedness. It's something more profound, something that instills a real, primal fear, the fear of losing yourself, the fear of fading away. With each passing day, memories fade, knowledge slips away, and your personality dims. You feel as if you are gradually dissolving into a fog, becoming a faded shadow of your former self, like an old photograph bleached by the relentless sun. And then comes the realization. If you don't take action now, tomorrow might be too late, and what's lost may be impossible to regain. But, as often happens, at a time when hope had almost vanished, a person's emerged who managed to transcend the limits of what was possible. His name was Alexander Mikulin, a world-renowned scientist, brilliant designer, and innovator. At 50 years old, he received a disheartening verdict from doctors. His heart was worn out, his brain weakened, and the aging processes irreversible. He was predicted to pass away soon. However, contrary to the grim prognosis, at 90 years old, he continued to design new models of aircraft engines, studied foreign languages, and recited classical works from memory. He didn't resort to expensive medications or consultations with renowned doctors. His methods were so simple and accessible that their effectiveness was difficult to believe. Yet, it was these uncomplicated techniques that restored clarity and sharpness to his mind. And today, the reader will discover how just a couple of simple daily exercises can restore the brain's former youth and clarity. You will uncover a beverage that is said to awaken long-forgotten memories, and an astonishing ritual, after which people recalled details seemingly erased from memory forever. All of this comprises elements of a scientifically proven system developed by the Soviet genius, capable of unlocking the brain's full potential, increasing its performance tenfold. Let's turn to an exercise that might seem trivial at first glance, yet it is precisely in this simplicity that the secret to its effectiveness in maintaining brain health lies. Imagine you stand, feeling the cool floor beneath your bare feet. Slowly and gracefully, you rise onto your toes, pausing for a moment at the peak, like a dancer frozen in midair. Then, with a controlled descent, you lower onto your heels. Your heels gently but noticeably connect with the floor, creating a slight vibration that ripples through your body. And then, you repeat the rise. Just 30 seconds dedicated to this exercise daily can bring tangible benefits. Mikulin dubbed this action the gravitational stroke, explaining its effect as follows. At the moment the heels strike the floor, blood stagnant in the veins of the lower limbs receives a powerful impulse, surging upward through the vessels like a turbulent river freed from ice. This flow reaches the brain, supplying it with oxygen. Over the years, especially with a lack of physical activity, blood flow slows down, and blood becomes thicker and more viscous, making it harder for it to overcome the resistance of the vessels. The modern lifestyle, characterized by prolonged sitting, at a desk, in a car, in front of a television screen, exacerbates this problem. As a result, the brain begins to experience oxygen deprivation, which is not just a figure of speech, but an actual deficiency of oxygen and nutrients necessary for its proper functioning. Consider the case of Evelyn, a 77-year-old resident of New York. She increasingly faced frustrating memory lapses, forgetting why she entered a room or spending a great deal of time searching for keys that, perversely, were right in front of her eyes. One day, quite by chance, she learned about a simple exercise that initially elicited only a skeptical chuckle from her, due to its apparent simplicity. However, giving in to desperation, Evelyn decided to try it. And just 2 weeks later, something astonishing happened. With genuine excitement, she recounted how she suddenly remembered the location of old family photo albums she had been searching for, unsuccessfully for 3 months, despite their immense value to her. This wasn't magic. It was the result of improved blood supply to the brain, which, receiving enough oxygen and nutrients, was able to restore lost neural connections. But one inviolable rule must be remembered. This exercise requires daily performance. Not occasionally, not when you feel like it, but every single day, like brushing your teeth every morning. For every skipped day can be compared to a dimmed light in the labyrinth of memory. At first, it may go unnoticed, but gradually, step by step, one risks finding oneself in utter darkness, having lost one's bearings, and not understanding how they got there, or how to get back. However, even active blood circulation may not be enough for proper brain nourishment if obstacles arise in the path of blood flow. Many people develop a kind of blockage in the cervical spine, hindering normal blood supply to the brain. This phenomenon deserves a more detailed examination. Surely everyone has experienced a foggy head after prolonged computer work or extended periods hunched over a phone. At such times, thoughts become scattered, as if floating in a fog, and concentration drops sharply. Often, we attribute this to ordinary fatigue, but according to Mikulin, this state has a deeper cause: silent brain strangulation. Slouching, especially with age, leads to the compression of blood vessels in the neck area, like a pinched hose. Blood struggles to pass through this barrier, entering the brain only in a thin trickle. As a result, the brain experiences an acute deficiency of nutrients and oxygen, which negatively impacts its functions. It loses the ability to think clearly, effectively memorize new information, and recall old memories. Mikulin proposed a simple and elegant solution to this problem, requiring neither complex medications nor expensive procedures, just 2 minutes of daily neck stretching. Achieving mental clarity through simple exercises, how gravity and stretching can revitalize memory. If you have access to a pull-up bar, use it for a simple yet effective exercise. Without any effort or attempts to pull yourself up, simply allow your body to relax and hang freely, like a puppet, fully surrendering to the power of gravity. This process promotes a gentle and natural spinal stretch. If a pull-up bar is unavailable, an alternative is an exercise that simulates reaching for an object on the highest shelf, Stretch your entire body upwards as much as possible, as if reaching for the unattainable. This simple action helps straighten the spinal column, freeing compressed blood vessels and restoring unimpeded blood flow. The story of Henry, a former architect from Virginia, serves as a vivid example of this method's effectiveness. At 82 years old, he decided to try this simple exercise. To his surprise, after just 3 weeks, he began to recall complex architectural calculations that seemed lost for the past 10 years. His daughter noted with delight that her father seemed to have become 15 years younger, regaining his clarity of speech, sense of humor, and mental sharpness that characterized him in the past. Unfortunately, we often don't realize how we harm our own memory daily. Spending long hours hunched over electronic device screens, we fix our bodies in unnatural postures, leading to stiffness and compression. It's no wonder that difficulties subsequently arise in remembering basic things, such as a neighbor's name, a grandchild's birth date, or a phone password. Such practices, becoming part of daily routine, subtly but steadily undermine our cognitive abilities. However, there is a method capable of restoring lost mental acuity, like breathing a breath of fresh air. This method, infused with the aromas of herbs, the sweetness of honey, and the invigorating coolness of a summer morning, is a healing beverage available to those willing to listen to the centuries-old knowledge of rural dwellers and show a bit of patience. Imagine a morning idyll. A peaceful silence reigns in the house, and you open the window, letting in fresh, invigorating air. On the kitchen table, a celery root awaits you, like a fount of vital energy. You carefully chop it, releasing every drop of its healing juice, and pour warm water over it, avoiding scorching temperatures. Then you add 2 spoons of honey, not ordinary store-bought syrup, but real, golden, like solidified sunlight. This elixir should steep for 1 to 2 hours to fully unlock its potential. The result is a beverage that Mikulin, a renowned expert in folk medicine, dubbed the elixir of clarity. Its taste is striking in its refinement and harmony. The honey's sweetness gently intertwines with the earthy aroma, creating a unique taste sensation. And with each sip of this magical drink, a bright light seems to ignite in your mind. Perhaps the effect will be barely noticeable at first, but over time, long-forgotten details will begin to surface from the depths of your memory. The name of a school friend that had eluded you for the past 15 years, or the exact place where you left your glasses. In the sunny state of Florida, 83-year-old Marty began her day by consuming a special infusion, making it her morning ritual. One day, during tea with her daughter, she unexpectedly recalled, "Do you know what my third-grade teacher's name was? Mrs. Wilson." Her daughter was deeply moved, as her mother hadn't been able to recall that name for almost half a century. However, this wasn't an instant miracle. The beneficial effects manifest gradually, like a gentle dawn slowly illuminating the sky. Honey has a protective effect on the brain, guarding it against inflammation and destructive processes, while celery aids in restoring neural connections, rebuilding them brick by brick as if reconstructing a ruined bridge. The key factor for success is consistency. If you neglect the practices, even with the right approach, the brain can revert to a state of inactivity. And inactivity, as is known, is the beginning of memory decline. But even the most healing infusion and good posture won't bring the desired result if one crucial aspect is overlooked, what the renowned scientist Mikulin called fuel for the brain. And this is not related to nutrition or physical activity. It's about what kind of nourishment you give your mind daily. Mikulin once remarked, "The brain doesn't age, it simply falls asleep if not stimulated." And he was absolutely right in this assertion. Imagine that your brain's neural networks are a team of experienced professionals. If you don't give them work, they lose interest, forget their skills, and eventually disband, destroying the neural connections they themselves once built. Therefore, even the most beneficial drink and perfect posture will be of no use if the brain is not engaged in active pursuits, not discovering new things, not being surprised, and not thirsting for knowledge. The renowned scientist Mikulin once witnessed the astonishing ability of an old math teacher. At 85, this man instantly solved complex equations mentally, astonishing everyone with his mental clarity. And it wasn't a natural gift or phenomenal memory, but a simple daily practice. Every evening, he recalled and articulated 5 new facts he had learned that day. These could be scientific discoveries, new words, interesting news, or even amusing stories. The main thing was that it had to be something he hadn't known before. Nina, a 79-year-old resident of Voronezh, went even further. She started keeping a discovery journal, recording 3 new facts each day. 6 months later, she not only remembered all her relatives' birth dates, which she used to constantly forget, but also unexpectedly began speaking Polish, a language she had learned in her youth and considered long forgotten. Her brain, stimulated by a constant flow of new information, recovered lost knowledge, demonstrating a remarkable capacity for regeneration and learning. It's essential to consider, what new things did you learn today? A lack of new information might indicate the brain is starting to fall asleep, but there are proven methods to awaken it. It's recommended to practice reading signs backward and writing with your non-dominant hand, which stimulates the creation of new neural connections. It's also beneficial to count steps in a foreign language, activating the brain and making it work harder. It's important to remember that memory is not a static data repository, but a dynamic process. Without constant activity, it can turn into a stagnant swamp of oblivion. However, the key is not merely performing the exercises, but understanding their purpose. All the aforementioned methods constitute a holistic system where each element is interconnected and reinforces the other's actions. Physical activity promotes blood circulation, proper posture ensures its unimpeded flow to the brain, and consuming beneficial products nourishes it at a cellular level. Receiving new information daily maintains neuronal activity. Effectiveness is achieved by integrating these practices into daily life, rather than applying them sporadically. The distinguished scientist and designer Alexander Mikulin once observed that the human brain is not a gym where occasional workouts suffice, but rather a garden requiring daily attention and care. He strictly adhered to this principle throughout his life. At 80 years old, he acquired a telescope, driven not by a desire to improve his memory or train cognitive functions, but by a sudden realization that he no longer recognized constellations that were once familiar to him, down to the smallest detail. A genuine desire to regain lost knowledge seized him, and he immersed himself completely in studying the night sky. Within 6 months, he could passionately and thoroughly describe every nebula and galaxy. This impressive result was achieved not through mechanical memory training, but thanks to the genuine interest that awakened within him. This is the key secret to effective brain function. You shouldn't force it to work against its will. It's far more productive to inspire it, to find something that will ignite a genuine desire to actively work, learn, and discover new things. This could be a new fascinating hobby, an engaging game, an insatiable thirst for knowledge, or an ambitious goal. Even a simple daily practice, like rising onto your toes, can fundamentally change the situation if a person clearly understands why they are doing it. Therefore, you should ask yourself directly, do you genuinely seek to regain your former mental clarity? Or is this just a fleeting interest? Because if a true desire for change burns within you, then it's time to find your personal telescope. That spark, that captivating passion that will awaken your brain to a full and rich life.